Okay, good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is. Mostly morning, I think. Tuesday, May 16th. Since I'm out, brief synopsis of what I explained in class yesterday, if you missed it or weren't paying attention. Basically, we have the scenarios for the internationals. First, let's go to number two, the federal deficit, debt deficit, and spending breakout, the digital breakout that we've been looking at. I'm going to hide my big head and try to get to classroom if it would ever move on me. Um, and we have remember, you've got the stop the webcam, move over here. Remember, you've got the PDF that breaks out all of the different spending, and I've looked at it on Cami. So you've got the PDF that breaks out all of the different spending. The revenue versus spending. So that when you have revenue versus spending, that makes it a situation where you run a deficit, right? And then what is the deficit, and how does that look? Um, and then look at various, and then this one, it's 105% of GDP, and then it goes up and down as a percentage of the of GDP. Okay, so going back, that's the form that you're completing, and then one of the things is, how do you find the debt clock? Notice that gives you a clue. Now, the ones that are underlined are subjective, meaning they're not requiring specific answers. The ones that aren't are the deficit, the debt, which you can find on the debt clock, as well. In addition, so that we've had several different class days that should be getting wrapped up. I've answered a couple questions in class on it. I've made videos to clue you in if you need to. Over the course of years, I've had several questions on it. I won't be available tomorrow via email, which is rare. So hopefully you can see it from there and get the responses. Now, looking at the next thing, which again, because I've given you quite a bit of time, so you're looking at, and it's going to be, you'll see it, even though I'm showing first hour, you'll see it here. The isolationists versus internationalists. Now, you're just going to do part one. Don't worry about the diplomacy strategies and scenarios just yet. Just isolationists and internationalists. You're going to put down, you're going to answer whether you think each of these scenarios are isolationist, very isolate. The United States was isolationist up until 1945, or is it more internationalist on a scale of 1 to 5? Is it more isolationist or internationalist on a scale of 1 to 5? So country Y sending in thousands of military troops to build temporary houses, clear roads, and serve tons of food. Where does that fit on the scale? After a huge earthquake, a tsunami hit country B and killed 200,000 people. Entire towns were washed away. Country B is very poor, cannot feed all its people. And then it gives country Y and what they're doing. And then this gives an example on the rainforests as well, and how whether each would be internationalist or isolationist. That should be done in class as well. And then the last thing, which you've got a little more time for, is part 3 of the notebook, on the foreign policy notebook. Part 3, in which I meant to open, which is slides 4 through 6, is about all of the activities that the United States has been in, all of the conflicts and affairs that they've been in over the course of their history, how we've gone from being isolationist to internationals. It's slides 4 through 6. There is a video that's pretty extensive. You can stop it in pieces that you're going to have time for, parts 4 through 6, that you're going to do independently. I may do a little bit in class, but I'm not 100% certain how much we'll get to. We've definitely done part 1 and part 2, and we'll do the United Nations. But slides 4 through 6, and how we've been involved in confrontations in the Cold War, Korea, and basically going through all of how we've evolved into the world power. So that is like notes on your own, like we've done in the past. It's a pretty long video, but you can stop it at points. There's no pair deck involved with that one. Part 3. That should be wrapped up by Thursday. And again, you're going to have time for it tomorrow, but that'll be it as far as the time you'll have. I don't know how much class time I'm going to have. If you haven't figured the bureaucracy, financing, government notebook, you need to do that as well. So there's where we're at. Internationals versus isolation scenarios. part and then if you haven't done the Pear Deck questions for part two, we finished those in class on Monday. And then the federal debt and deficit, and then the part three of A30, the foreign policy overview, part three of A30. I should have put A30 part three here to be able to foreign policy overview. In other words, A30 Part 3, slides 4 through 6, Foreign Policy Overview, um, should be done by Thursday. Sorry, I'm going that on the fly. So sorry for the staggered ending to this video. All right, I will see you Wednesday.